Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina Dami with your 13 Now update on this Tuesday afternoon. It is January 24th. And if you're still cleaning up the snow that fell yesterday, get ready to maybe deal with a little bit more. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Paul Caiano talking about yet another storm that you are tracking. And here we go, Paul, making up for lost time. We knew
Certainly.
eventually it would happen.
Yeah, it's hard to get through a whole winter month with very little or no snow. And that's where we were at, right? 3 weeks into January, we had virtually no snow. And then 7-8 inches of snow yesterday and a few more coming tomorrow.
So time that out a little bit for us. I know you're kind of leading into what's going on today, building up to tomorrow, but what can people expect?
Yeah, I think we're going to be fine for the morning commute tomorrow. And then things go downhill around lunchtime. And I think the target area for the worst possible time is for the late afternoon when the kids get out of school and into the evening drive tomorrow for Wednesday. That's when the brunt of the snow is going to come in. Should be out of here, though, quick hitting by Thursday morning. So that's in a nutshell the timing.
All right, Paul, let me put up your graphics and get myself out of here.
All right. Well, we talked about today being kind of an in-between day. We have a lot of clouds. You see that out here on the CDPHP first warning cam. 37 in downtown Albany. No real issues today. 36 officially at the airport. A lot of places above freezing, but I'll tell you why that's something that we do have to pay attention to. Not because I think we're going to get a bunch of snow, but readings are going to go back below freezing. And what melted is probably going to cause some slippery spots tonight and tomorrow morning. First warning, live Doppler, just a few flurries off of Lake Ontario downwind, mostly for the Adirondacks, maybe some flakes and flurries for the Mohawk Valley. But here's the next storm. Look at all that moisture rolling in off the Gulf of Mexico and evolving in the deep south. Some severe weather along the Gulf Coast, a snowstorm going on in Oklahoma. That whole thing is going to head toward Buffalo. We talked about the track yesterday and how important it would be to determine what we get. First of all, we'll go through the rest of the day. Notice how it goes below freezing right around, let's say, the end of the evening commute. So some slippery spots. If you have some ice melt, throw that out there for tonight because anything wet's going to ice up again. Then tomorrow morning, we stop the clock here at 9. It stays dry for the morning commute. But here comes some snow, light and spotty at first. But look at the steadier snow evolving right around 1 or 2 o'clock. I think we're going to get into the upper 20s and lower 30s. So we're going to hang on to snow deeper into the afternoon. Now, we talked about the kids coming home from school, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30. Steady snow going on. And it looks like the steady snow will persist into the evening commute. You can see here coming up on 5 o'clock, snowing at 6 o'clock and even into the 7 o'clock hour. Then you can see the multiple colors here. That's a mix and spotty, let's say some rain and sleet and some freezing rain into the night before rain takes over for a couple of hours at around 10. And then look at the drier air coming in. That's important. I want to talk about this for a second because this is what's going to prevent us from having a big snowstorm. We do get the shot of snow Wednesday afternoon and into Wednesday evening. But you see that second L coming onto the screen? It's going to form over New York City and head over Long Island and toward, let's say, eastern New England. That storm is going to develop too late to keep cold enough air and the moisture in place over us. So that's why everything's shoved into New England here. And that's why they're going to get the brunt of it from, let's say, central and eastern New England points north and east into Maine, as opposed to us. The drier air slot coming in is going to prevent us from getting a major storm. Still, a couple of inches, 2 to 4 will go in the immediate capital district. Higher terrain surrounding the greater capital district, 4 to 7, the way it looks right now. I'm in the middle of massaging these numbers. I'm going to have a new outlook coming up starting at 4 o'clock on the news, and we'll see what happens with these numbers. But it does look like the higher end here, 7 to 12 Adirondacks and Green Mountains will hold. So it does look like those places will get the most. We'll talk about what we'll get in the immediate area once again starting at 4 as the new models are coming in, and will give us a fresher look at that. Sabrina.
So, Paul, this is kind of tricky. You mentioned the kids going home from school, where the school districts have to kind of wrestle with, do we do an early dismissal?
Right.
Always tough to make those calls.
The early dismissal might be the toughest call. I've talked to superintendents before,
right?
Because you can't just leave the kids home. And then at the same time, you can't send them home with nobody home. So I think that's going to be something that they have to think about hard, because if the snow comes in around 12 or 1, then you're talking about kind of a tough trip home for the kids, the buses or whatever. If it waits until 2, 2:30, then maybe a lot of kids can get home before the brunt of the steadiest snow comes. So it's going to be touch and go here for a bit.
Important for people to tune in. Like you said, starting live at 4, those latest models come out right before the start of our newscast. So you'll have maybe some more details to help them make those decisions.
Certainly will.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. We will see you and talk with you live at 4.
Okay.
So Governor Kathy Hochul was in the Capital Region just a couple of hours ago. She toured the Crime Analysis Center in Albany, talking about the successes, the advancements there, also, of course, the challenges ahead with fighting crime. So let's bring in Dan Levy. He's here in the podcast room with me right now. And Dan, you were there for that tour. Tell us a little bit about what the governor said, and we have a little soundbite we'll play as well.
Yeah, this was very exciting, very impressive tour of that Capital Region Crime Analysis Center. What the governor is really doing is she is illustrating and expressing and reiterating to everybody that crime is her number one focus. You will recall that during the gubernatorial campaign, Lee Zeldin and Republicans really hammered her on that issue. And she's saying to everybody here, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to do. Now, the Crime Analysis Center in Albany is one of 10 such centers across the state. The governor invested more money. The center in Albany moved from the South Station up to Henry Johnson Boulevard. So it has doubled in size, and it has increased the capacity and the technological software that they can do. Let me give you one quick example. Every one of those 10 crime analysis centers across New York State has the technology to analyze shell casings from crime scenes. In the past, to get a final declaration of what that bullet, where it came from and what it was used for, it took a month. Now they can do that in each center in about 24 hours. So that's pretty remarkable in and of itself. So right now, let's hear a little bit of what Governor Hochul had to say.
Give me a second, Dan. I'm going to get that queued up for you right now.
That's the future of crime fighting here in the state of New York. Just getting warmed up. Let the criminals know. Put them on notice. You're not welcome here in the state of New York. If you're going to commit a crime or harm another individual, pick up a gun and use it in furtherance of a crime. You will be stopped.
All right,
Very adamant there. 10,000 guns have been taken off the streets of New York over the last year. That's a 59% increase over the previous year. Now, the governor credits local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies for doing that job, but she also credits these crime analysis centers for helping expedite that. Now, that's the good news, that 10,000 guns are being taken off the street. But of course, the not so good news is that that's an indication that more guns are being trafficked through New York State, New York City being the portal, and many of those guns are manufactured and sold and originate down in the South. And that's one of the duties that's being taken care of by these crime centers.
Certainly timely with the tragedies that have taken place in California in the recent days. Of course, gun violence, again, top of mind. And we had that shooting in Des Moines, Iowa yesterday as well. So the governor's visit and the topic is timely today.
No question about it. And she said, look, our hearts are broken after the 2 back-to-back shootings in California. And of course, New York State is no stranger to this tragedy also. She said, our hearts are broken and it's got to stop. And she's determined to make sure it stops. And that's why she's investing all this money in this entity.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you taking a little time to step away from putting the story together that we will hear live at 4 to tell us a little bit about it. We'll see you live at 4, Dan.
Indeed.
Another story we're following closely today. Today is Mark's opening statements in the criminal trial of Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin. News Channel 13 is in court right now as this is taking place. McLaughlin is facing charges in connection with his 2017 campaign. The New York State Attorney General says McLaughlin withdrew $5,000 from his campaign fund when he was in the state assembly to satisfy a debt to an aide. He's charged with 2 felony counts, including grand larceny. If he's convicted of a felony, he would be removed from office as Rensselaer County Executive. He could face several years in prison. Stella Porter's in court. She will have an update on this starting live at 4. And today marks 1 year since Jordan Young was shot by Albany Police. We've covered this story extensively, and this is that body cam video you have seen many times since the shooting on the night of January 24th. Police have said that they pulled the trigger that night as Young charged at them, and police say he was armed with a knife at the time. Young's family and his attorney, Rebecca Hochul, have argued that police had no right to stop him. He's had major medical issues since being shot that night. They say Young battles mental health issues as well. Today, people in support of Young will gather outside the Albany County District Attorney's office at 4 p.m., and News Channel 13 will be there. Some events taking place across the Capital Region. We have Chowderfest coming up in Saratoga Springs. Also, Stews and Brews in Lake George this weekend, where 13 restaurants are offering homemade stew, pairing them with local craft beer from places like Adirondack, Common Roots. So this weekend, January 28th, it all starts at noon in Lake George. Who doesn't want a stew and a brew paired together? That is your 13 Now update on this Tuesday afternoon, January 24th. I'm Sabrina Dami. We will see you on air on News Channel 13 starting live at 4.